Russo'sBrand.com, where the pros are the pros.
Well, Mark Henry is a little upset with AEW. Powerhouse Hobbs uses Mark Henry's finishing move, which was the world's strongest slam, but they are calling it the most dangerous slam in AEW, which has upset Mark Henry. And he talked about this on Busted Open. He said they called it the most dangerous slam. They don't call it the world's strongest slam. They're like, Mark Henry. You, how about that? That's whose decision that is. You cannot disrespect me and expect me to kiss your ass about it. I'm not going to do it. Then he goes on about fans allegedly were saying that AEW is mad that he didn't do what they wanted him to do and they're going to punish him. So he said, let me tell you this, AEW cannot punish me. There is nothing. I am bigger than AEW. There is nothing that they've done in the existence of their company that's going to make me feel like, oh, I need to bow down to that. I respect the talents, but when a mandate comes that says, screw Mark Henry, we're going to do this, then that takes it out of the talent's hands. You do what your boss tells you to do. You don't control my mouth. You don't control my heart or my spirit.
So and I apologize for my ignorance, is Mark Henry still affiliated with AEW?
No.
So how are they going to punish him?
I don't know. I guess fans were saying that, like, oh, that's what you get for, because when he had left, he said that their creative was like a circus or something like that. He said some, of course, disparaging things. And when you do that, you upset you can't do that. You know, you can't.
I've seen you. Look, I understand where Mark's coming from, but I think he's being a little sensitive. How many times throughout history have we, in the wrestling business, moves are adopted or renamed to enhance the particular person who's doing it at that time? There's a long line and a long list of those kinds of things happening in the history of the business. So, you know, I don't think that it was ever done directly against Mark Henry. I'm sure that when it was done, or, you know, the motivation was simply to give Hobbs something more, to have a bit more of an identity. The guy is, and you know, physically, visually, incredibly talented and impressive. He just has no descriptive identity. You can't turn to your friends and family and go, oh, there's this guy, Powerhouse Hobbs, and he's A, B, C, D, E. And that right there, that's the key to being a star. And I think the motivation and the effort was to simply try to give him something more to sell him, the act of Powerhouse Hobbs, and not done as any kind of direct insult or infringement on Mark Henry. So I think Mark, you know, is just, my assumption, but I think he's just kind of taking it out of context, and I don't think he should let it bother him. I think it's still a compliment that they felt that, you know, what Mark had created was strong enough to give this young guy, Powerhouse Hobbs, a leg up and potentially start to be able to utilize him more.
Is that a wrestling business kind of paranoia thing? Oh, if they change that name, they must be doing it to take a shot at me.
Yeah, it's easy, you know, for wrestlers as a whole. I'm not talking about Mark, but wrestlers as a whole are very neurotic, and they take a lot of stuff really personally. Even on the level in OVW, a large portion of my day is spent managing the talent and their overthinking and their elaborating things to center all around or all about them, and believing that it's not about business, it's now clearly about something personal. I literally just had to address this with a talent who gets super neurotic, is starting to develop a bit of a bad attitude and be a bit of a cancer in the locker room because of his, you know, belief. And look, I'm not going to lie, I did the same thing, you know, and that's something that a lot of them forget. You know, I tell them all the time, look, I've been you longer than you've been you. I know what you're going through. I know what you're thinking. I know you're sitting on the couch at home and you're having conversations in your head that never happened, that are never going to happen. And you're thinking that there is more of a conspiracy and motivation behind this than what there really is. that there's some kind of thought process that is all centered around you. And I can assure you, it ain't. It's more centered around just doing business and trying to move forward. But that's a pitfall that a lot of wrestlers fall into for some reason and are very susceptible to doing it. And if there are any wrestlers watching this, I can assure you, because I've been on both sides of the fence, I don't have an ulterior motive by saying this. I know you're going to think that, because they all try to think of your motivation, the why you're saying this or you're doing this, and like you're never going to be completely straight with them. And part of the reason is because they're never really completely straight with you. You know, we let's always remember, okay, the thing that we have intrinsically forgotten. What's the definition of a work? It's to make someone believe a lie, something that's not real. That's what we're doing, is we're going into a ring and we're going to try to convince a mass audience of a lie. The lie being that we don't know who's winning and that it really matters whether or not we win or lose. So now that becomes pervasive throughout the rest of the culture of the business, even backstage, to where it's always, is somebody trying to get over on me? Okay, is somebody trying to work me? You think I'm a mark. It's all about that, and always questioning the motives and the thoughts and the processes behind it. And really, it's not quite that complicated. When you start sitting on both sides of the fence for an extended amount of time, you start really realizing the real preeminent thing is just doing business. That's it. And it's not about you. It's about what's best for everyone, which sometimes works to your favor and sometimes it doesn't. That's the biggest challenge and aggravation. And yet at the same time is the thing that drives talent to want to perform on a higher level, because a lot of it is that insecurity that they're grasping at, wanting to be the man, to be the draw, so that they can feel more secure and feel more in control. So it helps build the business and drive an audience to want to attend and watch in greater numbers, because now the wrestlers are going to go out and are going to take creative chances to push themselves further up the ladder so they can feel more secure about their spot. Look at the success of the Attitude Era. Why was it so successful? Well, there are a number of reasons. We can all go into all those, but one of the biggest was there was such a keen level of competition, especially at the top of, Steve Austin never stopped pushing himself, never stopped taking risks, never stopped building himself. Because if he stopped for a moment, if he faltered, if he tripped, then The Rock was right there on his heels. Mick, Triple H. I mean, there were all these guys that were right there at any moment, could have taken away from the other.